This mini lecture will provide an overview of Chapter 1, Management. You may pause here to read the learning outcomes for this chapter. So the general definition of management that is used by your textbook is getting work done through others. And what we're really looking at is efficiency and effectiveness. And so efficiency is looking at how can we get things done with minimal effort or expense or waste, while also being effective, which looks at how do we achieve our organizational goals and objectives. Next, we'll look at the 4 functions of management. The 4 functions of management are planning, leading, organizing, and controlling. So planning looks at determining what the goals and objectives are for an organization and how we're going to achieve them. Organizing is deciding where decisions will be made, who will make decisions, who will do what jobs and tasks, and who will report to who or to whom. Leading looks at inspiring and motivating people to achieve goals, and then controlling is really just evaluating and monitoring and taking corrective action. These are very important to remember, as you will hear them over and over again in this course and other management courses if you take any. So there are some different types of managers. So there are top managers, middle managers, first line managers, and then team leaders. We're going to look at each of these more in detail next. Top managers, as you saw in our pyramid, are at the top of an organization, and they're responsible for the overall direction of an organization. They look at, do we need to make changes? How do I get employees to buy into our strategies and our goals? How do I create a good corporate culture? Really, they're making the very large, important decisions, including setting goals, missions, visions, etc. Titles that you might hear in terms of top managers are things like chief, executive, vice president, etc. Middle managers are just as this picture shows. They are right below top managers, and they are responsible for setting the objectives that are going to help achieve top management's goals. So goals are much more broad, and objectives are how we achieve those goals. Middle managers are responsible for planning and allocating resources such as time, people, money, linking different divisions together, coordinating between different divisions, monitoring and managing performance of their units and other managers, and then implementing the strategies developed by top managers. And so titles you might see in terms of middle managers are general, regional, divisional, etc. Next, we have first line managers, and I use this picture as an example of somebody who is a manager, let's say at a McDonald's, who is in charge of kind of running the day-to-day duties. And so they are really responsible for managing entry-level employees or those people who produce the goods and services. They're monitoring, they're teaching, they're doing short-term planning, they're encouraging and they're rewarding their workers. And such titles might include office, shift, or department. So here's an example of, we'll assume a marketing agency. All right, our top managers are Amanda, who's the CEO, as well as Sheila and Anthony, who are all top managers, right? Because they're CEO and founder, VPs, those are sort of common. Now, just because these two report to Amanda doesn't mean they're not still top managers. That's very common in an organization to have your CEO and then have other top managers reporting to them. Our middle managers are Boris and Maria, who are reporting to the VPs, and you can see their production manager, marketing manager. And then our first line managers are Dudley and Julia, and they're doing more of the day-to-day, and you can see her title is shift supervisor. We also have team leaders. We have our top managers, our middle managers, our first line managers, and then we have team leaders. They're not actually responsible for the performance of their teams, but they facilitate those activities that help to reach goals. And so they help team members to plan and schedule their work, help with day-to-day problem solving and working effectively with each other. And lastly, they help to foster both internal and external relationships. And so I have an example here from Target, and you can see Target has team leaders and executive team leaders, and their job is to help bring their unique skill sets in retail sales, service, and merchandising to drive sales growth and total store profitability. You're obsessed with the guest and you're creating a great experience. So team leaders in this context are going to be really looking at kind of those day-to-day functions, encouraging, motivating, engaging with the guests. So there are different roles that managers have. Managers take on interpersonal roles. That includes being a figurehead, a leader, and a liaison. We'll talk about these more in depth on the next slides. They have informational roles where they monitor, disseminate, and act as a spokesperson, and then decisional roles where they're entrepreneur, disturbance handler, resource allocator, and negotiator. So a figurehead usually performs ceremonial duties, and then in the leader role, they motivate and encourage workers, and in the liaison role, they deal with people outside their unit. So these are all the interpersonal roles of a manager. Informational roles, they are monitoring, they're looking for information, they're scanning the environment, they're receiving information and making sense of it. And they're also sharing information, they're disseminating, right? And that's within their company and to others as well. And then they serve as a spokesperson where they share information with people outside their departments or companies. And then in the decisional role, they serve as an entrepreneur, right? They identify innovations and help to facilitate change. They are a disturbance handler. They help to solve problems that may come up. They allocate resources in terms of time, money, people, and they help to negotiate projects and schedules and resources and goals, etc. Right? There's also a section in your book talking about the top 10 mistakes managers make. And you can pause and read here. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but these are really good to understand. And also to understand if you have any of these skill sets, or I shouldn't say skill sets, any of these characteristics, which may cause you to be slightly less effective or less effective as a manager. So, for example, if you are somebody who's very shy, you may come off as cold and aloof or arrogant. And so one thing you can do is to really be conscientious of being shy and to really try hard to speak up and to, connect with people so that you don't incorrectly come off as cold, aloof, and arrogant. There's also ways that we can achieve a competitive advantage through our people and our management practices. So one is through making sure employees feel secure, like they're not going to get fired if they do something wrong, like small thing wrong. Hiring the best people, selective hiring, letting people manage their own teams, letting people make decisions. So for example, if you're a global company, you might decide to maybe headquarters are in the United States, but you let the people in Germany make decisions because they are more aware of the culture. Paying people for performance, high wages, continuous training and skill development. I know many of you in this class are actually getting tuition benefits through your employers. That's a form of training and skill development. Reduction of status differences, so helping people to feel like they're all equals, no matter what level of the organization they are in, and then sharing information, being transparent. So that's a real quick overview of Chapter 1. So we talked about the definition of management, the 4 functions of management, the different kinds of managers and their roles, mistakes managers make, and how you can create a competitive advantage through people. If you have any questions, please contact me. Thanks.